Okay, hey everybody. Good evening and welcome back to another episode in our webinar series of the Master UFO Action Plan. I'm joined this evening with the talented Mr. Andrew Weissman. How you doing tonight, Andrew?
I'm great. Thank you for partnering with me tonight. AC, it's always great to do a session with you. This is going to be a valuable series. Well, it has been a valuable series. It's going to be a valuable session, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be, we have like a couple of distinguished guests that will be joining us tonight as we talk about follow-up and the ABC pattern, one of the most important elements of the basic five when it comes to building a successful and franchise business.
AC, we all know that business boils down to the fundamentals, and the fundamentals need to be practiced consistently until they become habitual, right? A second nature. And all five need to be going at once. So there's not any one element of the basic five that's any more important than the other. But I think historically, follow-up in the ABC pattern seems to be the area where people tend to be more weak, and need to strengthen, because there's just some very minor adjustments that can be made, which can yield a lot of success and make a big difference. And I agree with you. We're fortunate to have a couple of our partners, teammates, great successful and franchise owners to talk about their experiences with follow-up in the ABC pattern, how they've executed to be efficient and effective in making progress and growing their teams, following this principle. I would like to mention, if you don't mind, AC, before I forget, at the last international convention, for those who attended, JR led, which I thought was one of the best presentations when it came to demonstrating this business building principle, the ABC pattern, and of course, follow-up. And that video can be accessed through unfranchised.com. When you go to resources, you're going to see, I think it says JR's resources and lessons, or lessons and resources. Click on that, and then just scroll toward the bottom of the page, and you'll see he's in the flag jacket. It's a recent video, once again, from the International Convention. So we can't do it any better than, of course, JR did, because he's the master, and so I just want to encourage everybody to utilize that video, watch that video, watch it with your teams. Very, very valuable, and it teaches everything. So it's all captured.
Right. Fantastic. And, just a high level, overview on what the ABC pattern is, for those of our newer unfranchised owners who are maybe viewing this for the first time. The ABC pattern is the objective for every new unfranchised owner to lead to prospects. And we do this while building the business and creating duplication as we build in depth, because, ladies and gentlemen, an organization grows by people leading to more people. And some of the greatest tools or greatest methods we use in building the ABC pattern is utilizing the no decision close, which we'll probably learn about tonight from our guest speaker. Getting prospects to lead to their people, and starting a trial run in building the business, making it possible and realistic for anybody to build this with somebody leading them on. Andrew, anything you'd like to add with regard to these two?
I would, the evaluation approach is time honored. It works, whether one's experienced in the business or one's just getting started. And, that's the main approach JR used to teach and practice. And that evaluation approach enables you to use the no decision close, which leads to the trial run. And if you're not executing with the evaluation approach, the no decision close, which leads to the trial run, there's no real way to execute and follow this ABC pattern of building depth. And it's about duplicating the principles and the fundamentals that we know will ensure success. What this really boils down to, AC, is leadership by example, which is something JR, of course, practiced. He preached, and the two guests that we have continue to lead by example, even though they have very successful teams and growing organizations. But ultimately, it just gives you control. It gives you control over your progress, timing, and success. And once again, I just, instead of taking the time to go through the actual principle, let's refer to JR going through it the best, because he's the best of the best, and that video will take you right through the entire process of somebody getting started to becoming an executive coordinator on their way to professional coordinator, being recognized at the upcoming local seminar, right?
Right.
So it's a great demonstration.
Yeah, and you talk about, building in depth, and that's what the ABC pattern is. It's going from either house to house, person to person, and getting people to lead to more people, and continuing to build in depth, and what's a duplicating from the bottom up. But remember, as we build with the ABC pattern, it never unfolds perfectly. It will only duplicate through go nows, and that's all that we can ask for. And the great thing about this is that the organization grows organically. It follows the path of least resistance, and we're able to build profitability and stability by building deep organizations with our business. Key thing to remember is to schedule the next meetings for new prospects. So that never, to always book the next appointment. Never go into JR never went into an appointment or a home business presentation without knowing the next time he was going to come back.
And I can attest to that. The hundreds or thousands of meetings I did with JR in all different parts of the world, he was very disciplined and emphatic about getting that follow-up from that meeting. If you don't get the follow-up, you could have the greatest presentation you've ever done. Everything could be going right, but if the follow-up is not booked, everything that was put together in that presentation really kind of unravels and is for naught. And so it's a very important, it doesn't necessarily mean it's just about making progress, person to person, location to location. And as we'll discuss with Rich and Elizabeth, one of the biggest mistakes people make is doing the reverse of the ABC pattern, having somebody come back to your location. And at the end of the day, what you set in motion carries in motion, and nothing has been set in motion if you practice that, which is the opposite of the principle that we know that works, which is moving from person to person, location to location, booking follow-ups. And you're right, AC, it doesn't unfold perfectly, but it's about making progress, getting a first down, right? Getting 6, 7, 8 yards, on a play type of thing. So it's about making progress. Yeah, the business, as we all know, can't be built in one day. It takes time. It's a 2 to 3 year business plan. But if we're consistent and we practice these principles, the basic 5, and of course, we're talking about follow-up in the ABC pattern, it's simply going to increase our quality time that we invest in growing our business. And it just makes it a lot more fun at the same time.
Love it. Shall we bring on our featured panelist this evening?
Let's do that. Go ahead, AC. You got it organized.
Yeah, well, the first person that we have joining us hails from New Jersey right now. Proud team member of Team Philadelphia and Market America and franchise owner. He's a supervising coordinator, meaning he's earned in excess of $7,500 in a 4-week pay period. A tremendous leader leading a great organization. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Dong. Richard, are you on with us?
Yeah, it's good to be on here, AC, and nice to see you too, AW.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah,
and
of course.
The next person, of course, you all know she led by example and set the pace for others to follow in the very beginning, continues to do so. Please welcome International Field Chairman Elizabeth Weber-Walliser. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
We appreciate both of you. Yeah, I know you guys are, listen, everybody has their lives that are leading, businesses that they're growing. And so we just appreciate you taking a little time out to enlighten, educate, and teach and train the fundamentals that we know work if they're practiced,
Yep.
So AC, I'll just kind of start. Is that okay? I don't want to, because I know you have it organized. If you don't mind, Elizabeth, I'm going to start with you, because at the end of the day,
Right.
Worked with JR for so many years. You have the top level in the business, and you picked up the pattern. You listened and learned, but practiced the fundamentals
Right.
and the principles. You know what I mean? And so if you could just
Well-
talk a little bit about this principle and how you set it in motion, how it affected the growth of your business over all these years.
Well, it's all about the pattern. It's all about people leading to people. And it's about not wasting time with people who waste your time. It's about spending the time with the quality people as people lead you to people.
Right.
You know, JR, I said to JR early on, Andrew, I'm like, how did I get there so fast? He goes, well, if you just got people to lead to more people, you didn't waste time. You spent the time finding the right people. Like you said, it doesn't unfold perfectly, but it might not be the right time for the person.
Right.
And you just follow up until it is the right time. But in the meantime, you are getting people to lead you to more people. It's all about those appointments and that next step and that follow up and timing. Timing is everything.
I think it's great. I know there's several examples of people that, were negative, said no, the timing wasn't right, but it didn't affect your timing because your bean jar was always full, right? Always making progress. As you know, if you shake the bean jar and it's full, then the nuts are always going to rise to the top. And that's what happened ultimately, in the very beginning.
And that's what did happen. And JR said to me, you didn't enable people. You just kept searching for the right people and focusing on the go nows. And you never stopped caring or loving the other people. You kept them in the funnel, but you focused your time on the quality people whose timing is right.
And by doing so, your timing then doesn't become dependent on other people's timing, which is
exactly
really a big key to this, isn't it? There's obviously so many keys to success in this enterprise.
It is, but that's the biggest, because a lot of people do waste time, and when they should be spending the time going through people's people to find the right people. You
can't do it for anybody, right? At the end of the day, that just ultimately it weakens them,
right?
And then it's all dependent on your efforts. The whole principle here is to set the systems and principles in motion so it'll carry in motion and duplicate, right?
Exactly.
And at the same time, as a company, we've got a very supportive culture. And Richard, I know you guys are, an example of that supportive environment, supportive culture. So talk to me about, say, I'm a brand new unfranchised owner that you just sponsored into the business. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I've got my tickets to the next international convention. Talk to me about the process about on how you get me to lead to more people and start developing my business right away.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's a really good question. And first and foremost, I definitely want to say it's an honor to be on here with the great Elizabeth Weber. She's a legend in our company for sure. I always listen to the audios and I always think back to what it was like in the early days. So I appreciate you and what you guys have all done. But in terms of getting people started the right way and leading the people, I think for me personally, that's always been the end in mind. I always like to start with the outcome, which is growing a big organization, people leading the people, because I just can't personally recruit everybody into the business. Someone's got to start leading to more people. And for me personally, that was the reason why I even thought I could do this, because my background was in medicine. I spent most of my college years in a library studying, so I didn't have a big social network. I just wanted to get into medical school, so I was kind of a nerd in school, but I just knew I could learn anything. And if I could find people that had big networks, like JR says, find someone that knows a lot of people. And I said, okay, I can. And so anyone I would come across, I said, look, man, I'm all in on this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show the plan. If you bring me everybody I think we can both make money together. And I'd literally say that early on. And in terms of what getting people started the right way with the support, I just book a call as soon as I can, or when I first started, it was in person, but we would get together and I'd just set the right expectations. I think people, if anything, they like to meet expectations. They just don't have any expectations sometimes to meet. And letting them know that it's not going to be easy. This isn't get rich quick. And one thing I always like to tell people is that, I can be a resource for your success, but I cannot be the reason why you fail. So let's just be really clear on that. And it's just so true. And And on top of that, I think it's also reaffirming their decision to start the business, because I think especially in today's world, it's not that there's not enough information. If anything, there's too much information, but just probably a lack of focus. You know, you go into social media and there's like a new deal every 10 minutes you're just getting blasted with. And sometimes it starts to sow seeds of doubt into people's mind. But I always remind them every single day, look, you're running a business, you're doing like, this is legit. This is the real deal. Like, we're actually building something that's built to last, you know, and you're doing the right thing. Like, you're with the right people. I'm going to back you up. You know, if you ever at any point feel doubt or you get the negative, you know, responses from people, you know, don't worry. That's totally normal. But just stay the course. Like Dennis would say, stay focused and stay the course. And I think a lot of it really is in the mind. But it really does come down to getting that list, you know, and lowering people's barrier. Or I think that barrier between taking action and just thought, you know, it's like analysis paralysis. You know, people just think themselves to death, but you have to really lower their anxiety level to let them know that I'm going to do this with you. I'll show the plan. You bring the people and we'll do it together.
Well said.
And can I just say something on that about the list? People, the most important thing is the list, right? It's their network. Now you have access to their network. You always ask for the top 10, but you go over it with them. Like, don't expect them to give you their top 10. Say, who do you know that's the most influential? Who do you know that's the most successful? Who do you know that's the most connected? Who do you know? You know, you've got to work that with them to find the top 10 people, because they're going to give you people that need it. Not that we don't want people that need it, but we want people that know what it takes to build a business, right? It's all about belief. They already have the belief. They already have the know-how. They already know what it takes to build a business. They have connections. So your team will grow faster if you kind of recruit up and get to those top people. But it takes time, and you've got to go over that with them. I think that's what happens to a lot of people. Their growth can be so much faster if they go to the people that they look up to the most.
Great points. And I love, you know, Rich, what you said about setting expectations. You know what I'm saying? I mean, ultimately, if somebody's not going to take the action, not going to be coachable and do something, then they're probably not worth our time, energy, and effort. You know, so I think setting those expectations, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, about the fact that, listen, this is going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take effort. It's work. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, but everything is relative. The 2 to 3 year plan, you got to compare it to the 40, 45 year plan. This is not going to happen in a month, you know, but setting those expectations, you know, to get that proper mindset, I think is a big key to it. Right, Rich?
Oh, yeah.
You know? And then using the getting started guide to Elizabeth's point about the list, it's all really captured in that guide. You know,
it is.
And for those of you who were at the leadership school, I thought the presentation that Mark Bernanke did with Jim Winkler and I discussing how to utilize that getting started guide, you know, and through this process was very, very valuable. You know, it's a tool that if it's used, you know, works.
Right.
Yep.
So Elizabeth, that was great points. So you're starting me off with the possibilities list. I've boiled down the top 10, and you know, through our discussions, we've analyzed it together. Now, what happens next? Do we schedule a home business presentation? Do we schedule 2-on-1s? Do you have a preference on and what are the benefits of doing it each way?
You know, with the top 10, I like to do 2-on-1s. I like to meet with them. Let me just point out, though, because I know a lot of people are using Zoom. Much more valuable if you can meet them in person. You want to meet them in person, because that's where you get the energy. Not that you can't get energy on a Zoom, but you can build a relationship a lot faster in person. And then you want to, you know, of course, do a home business presentation when they get started. But the top 10, a home business presentation, this is just my opinion. I like people to invite their friends, family, everybody that will support them. Their top 10, yeah, maybe you're going to invite them to that, but their usually top level, you want to have a private, 2-on-1. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
That makes a
listen,
lot of sense. Yeah.
at the end of the day, in all the meetings I did with JR, most of them were little meetings
Yeah.
around the kitchen table or in their
Right.
location with a couple of people, you know what I'm saying? But the key to it is, and Rich, you mentioned, is doing it with them. And JR, remember, he'd always emphasize with, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, we're all, adults are experiential learners. So you're doing it with them, enjoying the process. They're learning on the job, if you will, And so by using the guide and having some fun and keeping it fun, and not taking ourselves too seriously, knowing there's negativity out there, knowing there's preconceived notions, understanding that, but navigating through it in a cool way, you can't go wrong. You're going to attract the people that are ready, willing, and able to build a business now, because they're out there.
But another thing too, Andrew, is people who are already successful love this. That's why I love going to them first, because they're smart.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of us that maybe need a little bit more education, I've got a question for you, Richard. Your group is huge on, education and getting people plugged in. Tell me about how, as we develop the organization and somebody new gets started, what sort of things do you get them plugged into? What sort of trainings, or do you get them listen to audios? What would you get me plugged into right from the get-go?
Yeah, that's really important. Well, first and foremost, I won't start anybody into the business without take it to the next major event. So if you do not have at least your own
Good.
icon, it's like I mean, why would you start a business without the instruction manual, right? Or some sort of
Right.
commitment?
Without a
And
guide.
the analogy I use every time is I let them know, like, look, I was going to be a doctor. Would you ever let me operate on you without me going through medical school? And they say, well, of course not. I say, great. Well, why would you ever expect to make a professional income without getting, I call this director school. You got to learn how to become a director first. And before you could ever expect any real return on your investment on this. So after that, I plug them into any sort of weekly calls that we host as a team. And I like to keep a rhythm to see the numbers grow on a weekly basis and track that. But yeah, we just grow from event to event. I mean, I think those are probably the two most important numbers that I always track. Well, obviously tickets sold and people at the next major event in person, and then Master UFO qualifiers every single quarter. And I think that probably tells, I would say, like 90+% of the entire story as to how you're doing and the trajectory in which you're growing. But then on top of that, I think you got to really leverage tools too. And, I send people audios and, I let them know, like, if I send you an audio, would you listen to it? And, they'll say, yeah. And then they message me the next day, hey, man, let's get on a call and catch up. And I say, great. Did you listen to the audio? And they say, no. Awesome. Go listen to that audio first, and then I'll get on the call with you. Because that, at the same time, that while support is not necessarily just giving your time away for free. I think it's really letting people know that I'll meet you. I'll match you, right? It's 50-50.
Yeah.
If we're building a house, you pick up your bricks, I'll pick up mine, and we'll build the house. But the second you put them down, I got to put these down with you, and I'm here, but I'm not going to be able to do anything until you're willing to meet. You can meet me with your action in the middle.
I'm glad
You want to
mentioned
match their commitment, right? You want to match their commitment. That's what I tell them right up front. I'll
Yeah,
match your commitment. I'll go as fast as you, and I'll go as slow as you too.
that's it. That's it. Yeah, we don't.
Can I just tell you one thing, because I think it's a good point. So I just met somebody the other day and told them, I want you to evaluate this. I think you're going to love it, but even if you don't, it doesn't matter. I think this could really help you. And the next step for me, because we have a team so vast, I got the entire team on Zoom. After I spoke to this person for the first 15 minutes, just so they could meet the people. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times people want to do everything themselves, mm-hmm. but people have to know that there's a team. They want to be part of a team. And when you get them to meet the different, relationships, and you also hold the team accountable, I'm not going to be the only one that works with them. The team's going to work with them. It's amazing what can happen. You empower people. So teamwork is everything.
It is. And there's a lot of people out there that are fortunate enough to have a close-knit team in their local area, and others might be a little isolated, you know what I'm saying, or just getting started in the business. Maybe there's just them and their sponsor, which is totally cool.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not going to be too far. You can tie into a GMTSS, you know, UBPs or a local event, local seminar, et cetera, you know. But Rich,
Well, it doesn't even have to be your, like, you don't even have to be economically connected to somebody, and they can be part of the team.
good point. Yeah, thanks for saying
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But you want to have, you know, people got to be able to connect with someone. And I find that, hey, they might or might not be able to connect with me, but they're going to be able to connect with somebody on that team. And yeah, Zoom is great, but the big events is 100 times greater to get everybody together.
Yeah, there's a role for the technology, and Zoom has.
Yeah.
We're not looking to get rid of it because it could be
Right.
really efficient and effective with it. But at the end of the day, the real value is in person. I think we all have experienced that and know that, you know,
Yeah.
emphatically. But one thing I just wanted to mention, Rich, that you brought up, and I'm glad you did, because a lot of times people look toward, you know, your team, because I mean, you guys, the Philadelphia team, you guys make a lot of waves, you know what I mean? You're loud, you do, it's exciting, and probably want to be a part of that, you know, but at the end of the day, you guys created that because you followed the system, you know. And one thing that you brought out that I'm glad you mentioned was becoming a master and franchise owner. Talk about tracking this. Ticket to the next major event is a must, you know, it demonstrates their commitment, you know, and then the Master UFO captures everything that needs to be accomplished. And so by duplicating that, of course, you know that you're, you know, satisfying all the components that make up the system, you know. And so that's what I know you guys have done a great job at qualifying for master unfranchised owner and requalifying, you know, and that's been consistent. And so as a result, you guys are growing.
No, I definitely want to add to that too, that I think sometimes it's really easy to point out and say, because for me, honestly, when I first came out to an event, I came out in 2012, and that was when Drayton was he was, I think, a distributor. I don't even think he was even activated making money at that point. And what he did was just what Elizabeth said, he pointed up in the back seats. He said, see all those guys in the suits and the ties? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, they look super sharp. And it was really impressive. And so that's Team Penn State with Olivia and Benson. It's like, we're going to be like them one day. I said, okay, let's go for it. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's really about kind of promoting success. When you promote success, you know, elsewhere in the company, it does create a level of that social proof, builds belief in other people. And even for myself to this date, you know, I mean, blessed to have great partners, but at the same time, you know, I know that the team doesn't build leaders. The leader is going to build the team. You know,
Well
I
said.
track my
Right.
UFO qualifiers, and I think to myself, anyone I talk to, I say, look, like my goal is to bring the most mass UFO qualifiers to this team. You know, it's not to sit here and kind of go down the lazy river of Philadelphia, because that's honestly not going to get my business really anywhere. So I think, again, like from the outside in, it's really, people sometimes might use that as an excuse, like, oh, I don't come from, I always joke around with people that I work with. I say, look, you're born into a rich family. So I know you said you're broke, but congrats, you're in a rich family. We're going to take good care of you, but don't waste it. Right.
Yes.
At the same time, you know, if you're out there thinking, man, like I'm kind of on my own, like I don't have a strong system. There wasn't a strong system in the Philadelphia area when we first started. You know, all the calls we do weekly, everything down to the t-shirts, everything we do was something that we all got together and said, what can we do to better create a stronger team? And so what Elizabeth said, to make people feel like they're a part of something bigger than them, just themselves. Because that's why anyone's ever going to stick around. And even to me, like 9 years later,
Exactly.
I would have probably quit if I just didn't feel like I mattered to something bigger than what I was. Because, you know,
Right.
there's a lot of ups and downs in the business.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you said
Great.
that, because
You need the team.
people have looked to you guys because you guys have grown considerably, and it is an inspiration. You know, it's exciting to see what's happening.
Love it.
But it's no different than what anybody else can't be doing. Just these principles,
Exactly.
these fundamentals, follow up, the ABC pattern, you know, duplicating master and franchise owners. There's no secret. You know, started from scratch, just like everybody else. And there's a lot of other people who are implementing this, you know, but so it's great to see the growth, you know, around the country in different parts of the world, right? AC, do you want to say something there?
Yeah, absolutely love that. And, you know, Richard, it's same thing happened to us. Like we were, you know, we plugged into the events and we had great models to follow. We weren't even financially connected to them. But for anybody that's starting from scratch, like you had mentioned, Andrew, I've got a question for Elizabeth. So say, great, we've done the top 10s, we've done 2-on-1s, we've done 2-on-1s meetings together. And from one of my top 10 is, he's excited, interested to take this to the next step. Elizabeth, how do we get to the B level and how do we get to the C level from here? He's
Right.
seen the.
That's great, because I like to go to people's top 10 first and let them know that I'm doing a home business presentation where I'm going to be inviting a lot of people. So I let them invite their people to the top 10, to the home business presentation if they're local. And because I'm going to have to place those people somewhere. So it kind of closes the people on the top 10 list. At the same time, it's building the team. I also get them to, the no decision close. You can try it out. Let's get, together with your top people. Let's show them the business. And you just go through the same thing over and over again so that, the people who are go now, the nuts rise to the top. So you just want to go from person to person to person. And honestly, when I look at people, I don't think like you're going to be great in this business. I think, you know what? Everyone knows 2 people that are going to be great. Everybody knows 2 people who are looking, and the best people really are the people who are looking now. Now, it just excels your growth. Of course, there's going to be people whose timing's not right that are going to still, be interested. And this is an online business. Everybody should be in an online business. Hello, that's the future. But I just get people to lead me to people, and once they get started, we book their home business presentation. Yeah, I know some people are using Zoom, but if you can get there into their home, they take responsibility and they make sure people are going to be there. Then you can get them on a Zoom with the whole team, right? You want to use Zoom appropriately. You don't want to use it to build your business totally. You want to be in person as much as you can. Makes a huge difference.
You said it, people lead to people, and it's so much easier to attract people through other people than it is just find people cold. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this principle enables you to do if it's practiced, if it's followed.
Right. Like once you bring somebody into the business, you have 200 new names. Like, why wouldn't you take the time to go through those people, book the appointments, and ask them to evaluate a business, an online business? They may or may not be interested, but if they're not, they may know someone who is. I mean, this is not difficult.
And you'll notice I'm hopeful that people that are tuned in or that watch this recording do go to unfranchised.com and take an hour and a half and watch that presentation that JR led. Because to the point that you just made, Elizabeth, every single person on that stage had a bean jar, which represents the 200 to 300 people that everybody knows, whether they like it or not, or know it or not. You're tapping into their networks,
right?
Each time just through one individual, and so it's a massive amount of possibilities you're tapping into through this process.
You should never run out of names. Never.
I was going to add, Andrew,
and always add names.
There's one aspect I think that's really underutilized too is product events for getting to that next level, because sometimes people start the business and, they have like an average level of personal power. Maybe they're, a little jumpy when it comes to the recruiting side. But if they book an in-person product event, to Elizabeth's point, you show the products. You can get a lot of support there to show that the team, works together. You get some of the supporters in your group to come in and showcase the products, maybe do the demos we saw at leadership school. But I'm in the background kind of hovering, like trying to think, okay, who can we show the plan to?
Right.
Thinking, how about Uncle Ted over here? He looks pretty sharp. He looks like he wants to learn about the business. So I think that's probably one of the best, in my opinion, best ways, because you kind of, you're knocking out two parts of the basic five. You're doing the retail, and people need to make money back. They have to have a win. I think getting some retail profit, that I call it like getting them over the line, meaning they're more likely to stay than they will be to quit in 90 days. And help them
Belief.
sell a product.
I'm
Yeah,
so
the
glad you
belief
s-
goes through the roof.
I wrote down, as you were talking and before, I wrote down getting started guide, which we talked about. Tickets, you mentioned you have to have your ticket to the next event. Master UFO, you covered that. And I wrote down products. And so you already just brought that up, which is so good. But all these things, Jared always talked about measure, monitor, adjust, and control. These are the things that we're measuring and we're monitoring, through this process to ensure that, we're making that progress and we're setting, once again, the right systems in motion from the very beginning, anything else? We have about, well, I guess we can, it's been a nice session so far. Anything else we wanted to discuss? I mean, I think we did.
I also want to commend the both of you for continuing to lead by example. And both of you are continuing to not just work with your partners, but you're personally sponsoring people into the group. You're personally retailing products. And can you share with us why you feel that's important? Elizabeth, you certainly don't need to anymore. But
No,
you still do.
I feel guilty if I don't talk to them about either a product or the business. I do. I feel guilty because I'm thinking, hey, who am I to judge? Like, they may or may not need this. Why not get them to look at it? So anybody I come in contact with, when I ask them what they do, when they ask me what I do, I say I teach people how to make a lot of money online. And then I just shut up and I wait. If
So
they
it's
don't
hard-
say anything, next. But if they do, hey, can you teach me? 99% of the people say, can you teach me?
Mhm.
Try it. And you'll see that, it's true.
Yeah.
And everybody out there is looking for a better way. And all you got to do is open your mouth.
Don't be
Just
selfish.
open your mouth.
Don't be selfish.
Exactly. Don't be selfish.
Right.
Tell them about it. They may or may not be interested. Who cares? You never know when the next director is going to be put in your path.
Love it. It's
You'll
part of your
never know.
DNA, Elizabeth. It's just who you
It
are.
is.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
So, Richard, what from a team's perspective, when they see you, let's say, achieving Master UFO, or they see you continuing to sponsor, continue to build, what sort of message did that send to the organization?
Yeah, so I think the role of the leader, I think, is really to instill belief in the people, like their people, and I think the morale of that leader is literally going to be the morale of probably the entire organization, depending on how big that leader is. So Jay always says that, he said that you're like, recruiting is a representation of belief. When you don't recruit, your belief goes down, and when you
That's
are
right.
recruiting, it means you believe big. And I think, people don't sometimes realize that even when you do this for a while, even when you start to make money in this, you believe the business works, but sometimes, your belief in yourself like wanes, it goes up, it goes down. And it's like a baseball player, they lose their swing, right? And they're like, oh man, I'm in a slump right now. It's like, no one wants to do the business. Like, I get plenty of rejection. I promise you, I get left on red. I get people who say no, we all get it, right?
I still do.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. It's like, just Google.
Yeah.
But
I'm
I
like, good, next.
yeah, no, that's a big one too, is that I think when you're going through that motions with your people, because your people are gonna, you get all kinds of crazy yes, no, maybe, heck no, right, type of rejection.
Right.
You have to go through that with them to really lead by example. That to me is probably the biggest thing. And when you do that, people will respect you for it, regardless of the level that you're at. So again, it's just continuing to really, refresh myself, stay sharp. I mean, how am I ever going to teach these skills if I'm not out doing it on a consistent basis? And just continue to have more belief in myself and where I'm going at the next level of the game, and bring as many people with me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well said. Well said. AC,
Yeah.
maybe some closing remarks, or do you, I think we're getting toward the end. I think this has been a really.
Well, I'm having way too much fun.
I know. We do have another one to do after this, though.
Yeah, I think that's the closing remark, right? It's the reminder that
You're
Jay
awesome, Richard.
I
just
appreciate it.
continue to have fun. And it's just incredible what we've been able to do together. I appreciate you guys for jumping on, sharing with us your tips on building the ABC pattern, following up, and also continuing to lead by example and following the Master UFO program. I also want to just mention to everybody that's watching this week, that's tuned into our weekly series. Next week, we have a retail session. Jason Pellin will be doing a customer-facing retail session talking about digital marketing and business services, so products that we offer on that front. So do look for the link at the bottom of unfranchised.com, and do share that with your customers as well, because Jason Pellin will be explaining all of that directly to your customers. Andrew, why don't you take us home?
Just thank you again, Rich. Thank you again, Elizabeth. Appreciate your time and sharing your insights and your experiences. They were very valuable and great. We appreciate it. And I know
Anytime.
keep growing. But just once again, everybody, check out JR's lessons and resources on unfranchised.com. Scroll down, watch the video. It's like an hour and 26 minutes, I think it is. And it teaches everything you need to know about follow-up in the ABC pattern. So, but thanks again for tuning in, and stay safe and healthy out there. Look forward to seeing you guys soon.
See you guys at the top.